You ever wonder what it takes to learn a musical instrument? In this video, we're going to talk about the 7 steps it takes to accomplish learning a new musical instrument. Coming up. Welcome back to Learn About Music. My name's Todd Nelson, and on this channel we try to help people, curious onlookers, mere mortals, not superstars, to become better musicians, to understand more things about music. Today we're going to talk about the question that haunts many people. How does certain people learn to pick up an instrument so quick, and how do they get from not knowing an instrument at all to knowing it in months or maybe a little less than a year, whereas other people it takes 5-10 years to learn the instrument. So today we're going to talk about 7 steps that you can take or use as benchmarks to help you to learn an instrument quickly. As always here on this channel, we'd love it if you could subscribe to the channel down below, and if you like this video and like what you're watching, please hit the like button. We really appreciate it. So number 1, the first step to learning to play a musical instrument is to learn the mechanics of the instrument and start to do it a lot. I find a lot of people ignore that it takes a certain amount of skill to learn something. So the instrument that you pick up and start to learn, you might just need to learn simple what one hand does and learn it slowly and get it so that you can know that mechanically every time. That means lots of repetition. You do that with both hands. You want to know the mechanics of how to play the instrument. Another thing about that is it's often this part of learning to play an instrument doesn't feel very musical. You're just trying to learn how to use your hands. If it's an instrument that you blow through, you've got to learn control of air. If you're learning to sing, you're learning to try to get rid of tension. So you need someone to help you show you what those mechanics are, and you need to embrace learning every single one. The second step to learning a musical instrument is to start to play simple melodies on the instrument. If you're not playing music from the beginning on the instrument that you have, you're going to get bored. You can't just play mechanics. You do the mechanics so that you can get better quickly. But you have to learn to play melodies so you start to feel musical and you get something back out of it. The third thing, as you are learning melodies, the third thing that's so important is that you need to use your voice to emulate whatever you want to play. So let's say you hear a melody on the radio and you say, I'd like to be able to play that on this new instrument I started to play. You need to be able to sing, and it doesn't have to be good and nobody else has to hear you, but you need to be able to say, if I hear something on the radio as a horn, you want to be able to take your voice and try to emulate it as close as you can as possible. And the reason you do that is if you can't sing it, you can't play it. So as soon as possible, you want to start to take everything that you think that you want to learn and emulate it with your voice. Because that's your voice, and if it's in your head, then you can slow it down and do one note at a time. So you're using your voice to emulate what you want to play is the third most important step. The fourth step into learning a new musical instrument is to learn to practice perfectly. Now, what does that mean? What that means is that if you get some instruction, whether it be on YouTube or if you have a teacher who sits down with you and you have a teacher and he says, for example, he says, I want you as you're learning to play this instrument to keep your fingers just over the strings. Now, that seems like a very small thing, but he said keep them just over the strings. And when I'm teaching sometimes, I'll see players playing like this and they're flopping their fingers around and bending them or grabbing onto the neck. So whatever your teacher is teaching you, we talked about it in number 1, you need to learn the technique. But here in this step, you want to be able to go ahead and take whatever you've learned and learn it perfectly. It's the most important thing that you can do. The sooner you learn this, and then if you do something very slowly, maybe it's with breath control and singing, or maybe it's about getting rid of tension in your voice. Whatever those things they're teaching you to do, you need to take every single thing that they tell you to heart and practice those exactly and very slowly until you can start to get them up to speed. The fifth step to learning a musical instrument is a really hard thing for people to go ahead and embrace, and that is sometimes learning a musical instrument is boring because it takes time. If you know that, that will help you to propel you to go ahead and do these other things that I've told you at first. If you realize that there's going to be moments when you're bored learning this, that's okay. The point is that we're trying to teach you patience in learning an instrument. You're not going to become Eddie Van Halen. You're not going to become the next Mariah Carey. You're not going to become the most fantastic drummer overnight. It takes time, and you need to put in the back of your head, I'm going to be patient. This is a marathon to learn on it. Now, that doesn't mean you can't learn very quickly, but you have to take all these steps very seriously. So when all these things start to come together, you can say, I already have technique. I've learned practice perfectly. I've learned to play simple melodies. I can move on to more complex things now. So that's a very important step. Another thing that's really important, even early on when you're learning to play a musical instrument, is that there might be a reason that you've decided that you want to play whatever instrument you want to play. Maybe you heard a saxophone being played at a bar somewhere and you thought, that is so cool. Long time ago, I liked a do-it-yourself show called This Old House. And the melody that was on the credits that happened when it rolled was a clarinet. And I thought it was the coolest sounding thing. I thought, oh, I want to play that. But I wanted to play it because of the way that the melody was played. Similarly for you, for some reason, you've thought to yourself, I want to learn to play electric guitar because I love the distortion. I love the screaming notes that a guitar playing. You want to find out what are those qualities of the instrument that drew you to that. And those are some of the qualities that you're going to want to learn to accomplish early on in your playing. Because if you're not accomplishing some of the things that drew you to play the instrument, you're going to turn away from the instrument sooner than later. So seek out those qualities so that you can start to put those into your playing as well. Finally, the last step for you to start to learn your musical instrument is you've got to figure out the mind-heart connection. And what I mean by that is that if you've come this far and you've decided to learn a musical instrument, you have some love of music. And whatever it is that makes you love music or love certain types of music, there's something about it that when you close your eyes that you feel it inside, and it's heartfelt about you feel. When you start to learn a musical instrument, it's going to feel mechanical. It's going to feel like the simple stuff that you're doing, you don't get any reward from that. That's the tendency for most young people. You've got to learn to play those simple melodies, simple rhythms, and you've got to make them feel like music. Okay? If you're not sure what I'm talking about, put on a piece of music that moves you. And I try to move your hands and your feet and your body and try to feel what it is about that piece of music that makes you like it, what makes you groove along with it. Sometimes there's a shuffle groove that you like, and whatever it is about that shuffle groove, it just makes you move. You can feel the pulse of it. So when you start to pick up an instrument, no matter what it is, guitar, bass, drums, voice, horn, whatever, as you start to play it, see if you can go ahead and feel that in your head and transfer it to your hands or to your breath or your voice, whatever it is, and make it sound musical. Make that connection between heart and your mind. If you can do that, you're going to start to enjoy music a whole lot more. You're going to all of a sudden make huge strides in your playing to become a decent player on whatever you're playing. I play currently, I don't know, probably over 15 different instruments. Now, I don't play them all very well. That doesn't mean I read music on them, but I can pick up an instrument and I can start to play it and make it sound musical, because that heart-head connection gives you the ability with just a little bit of technique, just a tiny little bit of technique that you've taken to put under the instrument, makes that all of a sudden start to sound good, and it makes it pleasing to listeners from the outside here. So those are my 7 things that I think you can do to go ahead and learn a new musical instrument. So the question of the day, if you've learned a musical instrument, or maybe it was after the first instrument you learned, or maybe it's the first one ever, what things did you think were the most important thing that made you get to learn that instrument maybe a little quicker, or a little more in depth, or like you really got it? Put those in the comment section below. I'd love to hear what your feedback is on that. If you're new to the channel, I really appreciate you coming here. Please subscribe, hit the like button below, and we will see you next time here on Learn About Music.